This is the OG of EV. When you think about it, the Nissan Leaf set the path for the massive choice that's on the market today, around the world really, for electric cars. It's not to say manufacturers weren't thinking about electric, but Nissan were kind of the first brand to just put their money where their mouth is and get electric cars on the road to the masses. But now the Leaf, and this is the second generation Leaf, has been around for a long time. But today on Nobby on Cars, I just want to do a little experiment to see, is the Leaf still a good buy in almost 2024? Welcome to Nobby on Cars. First of all, let me quantify some of the challenges. So here is your CHAdeMO charging port, which is obviously not CCS. CHAdeMO is still massive in Japan, was quite big in America. But European regulations said that all cars need to come with CCS DC charging from, I think, about nearly 10 years ago at this stage. So it eventually kicked in, and it's quite hard now, particularly if you're in the north, for example, to find CHAdeMO charger, because ESB only started rolling out chargers there in 2023. So one of the big challenges of the Nissan Leaf is, can you do longer journeys on it, and will you have charging options? In the Republic now, currently, yes, but it is a case where CHAdeMO one day won't exist. Not a problem if you're charging at home, because you just plug it into the AC charger, you charge it overnight, and you get on with your day. Let's talk about aesthetics for a minute. I think the current gen Leaf, it's had a couple of facelifts, a couple of revisions over the years, because it's 2018 since this version came out. You might love, hate, or be not quite sure about these alloys. They have a little bit of diamond cut action going on. Quite a, comfortable suspension, but quite floaty when you're on the move. Aerodynamically, that's quite interesting, because this car is still pretty efficient, even by today's standards. And the boot is quite usable as well, because if you don't go for the Bose sound system, which this car does have, which actually eats into the boot space a little bit, you have space over on the left to store your cable. Another drawback, I suppose, is the fact that when you drop the rear seats, you have a significant lip between the boot floor and the level of the seats. So if you're trying to slide things in, that's a little bit problematic. And with all that said, it's still a 435 litre boot, which again, by today's standards, is not bad at all. A huge big lip here for dragging things out of the boot. So yes, it has its flaws, but as an actual space, literage is pretty good. If you're considering a Leaf or just getting into an EV for the first time, you should stay watching, because the biggest change about the Leaf in the 40 kilowatt hour battery is the price. It's now more affordable than ever, and I'll get to that bit in just a second. It is a bit tight in the back of the Leaf. You've got not a huge amount of leg space, and imagine if you were using this car as a taxi. Do people sometimes complain about it? Now, you can obviously move that passenger seat and you get a bit more space. Quite a big hump in the floor by today's EV standards. So that is definitely a drawback. You still got heated seats depending on what spec you've gone for. No armrest, again, the BYD Dolphin does have that included. So yeah, it has kind of shown its age in some respects in the back. But for a two-seater setup, seats are quite comfortable, headspace is all right. It's just the knee room in particular that is a little bit compromised. Up front in the Leaf, well, it's a tale of two halves. So there's a lot of digital stuff going on. You still get a nice wide screen, but you have physical controls for heat and heated seats and radio volume. And people, I think, will like that compared to something like the brand new BYD Dolphin, which is very much based on screens and more modern sense of technology. Your instruments are half needle, half digital. You've got the e-pedal, which clearly Nissan really think they've done a good job there, because it's made it into its newest cars, the Aria and the X-Trail and the Qashqai e-Power. So they've done a pretty good job there, and the fact that it's remained kind of backs that up. You can, of course, time your departure. You can time when your charging should start. The seats are comfortable. So yeah, I mean, looking around, it is a little bit old hat. I mean, you've still got physical steering wheel buttons on the steering wheel. These A-pillars still block the view. highest spec new versions of the Leaf get a digital stream for the rear view camera. Again, that is spec dependent. So there's a mixture of new and old going on, but I do think some people will actually want physical buttons. And if you're someone like that, then you might prefer the Leaf compared to some of the newer stuff that's on the market in an EV. Driving the Nissan Leaf is where it gets interesting because, you know, charging speed has got faster. Range has got better over the years. But actually, how a car drives in terms of performance, power output, that really hasn't changed in a long, long time. So you floor the Nissan Leaf and it's wet, you might get the odd little bit of loss of traction. Again, that's kind of to be expected for a front-wheel drive EV due to all that excess torque. As I mentioned, the B-pillars, they are quite large and sometimes they do restrict your view, but you've got a lot of gadgets. 360 camera, again, model spec depending, but blind spot is standard. There's a lot of safety stuff, frontal collision avoidance, they're all coming. So in that sense, the Leaf does actually, relatively speaking, keep up with an awful lot of even today's cars for safety and tech that you get as standard. Now I'm trying to get out of a junction there before cars get too close. They weren't close enough and the wheels were spinning up with only 3,750 kilometers on the clock. So you get my point about a lot of power going to just front wheels. Yeah, it's a little bit noisy, but I've actually always found the Leaf quite an enjoyable car to drive, and the e-pedal no doubt helps that because it just makes it a relaxing experience. The steering is light. You know, it is what you'd expect and what you'd want from a car of this size. Fuel economy, 15 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. There is nothing wrong with that. In fact, that is bettering at the moment the BYD Dolphin that I drove in very similar conditions, time of year, temperature. So do Nissan have that efficiency cracked still all these years on? You know, it's an interesting one. It even has sharp enough steering, but at times the suspension kind of shows its true colours and that you get a sense of the weight of the vehicle, and that is an area where the Dolphin better performs. So is it a car that's still relevant in 2024? Well, technology and charging speeds and CHAdeMO would probably suggest no. It's not really as simple as that though. If you think of the Leaf as a car that is a second car, or the car that really does truly do short journeys, then there's not really an awful lot wrong with this car apart from the price. Yes, it's the cheapest it's ever been, but it just still needs to come down a little bit more compared to, again, the cars in the C segment in an EV now. I think Nissan genuinely need to drop this car to about 24,000 euro, and then you'll kind of forgive it that it only does 50 kilowatt charging, that potentially you have charger gate where you can't, a rapid charger gate where you can't charge this car on a fast charger, although 50 kilowatts is not fast by anyone's measure anymore. It doesn't like doing that multiple times per day. You know, chemistry and batteries, we've learned an awful lot more in all those areas since the Leaf, certainly the first generation, hit the roads. But it would be untrue for me to say that this car is now a dinosaur, because Nissan have kind of thrown the kitchen sink, especially at this level of trim, which, you know, is mid-30s. Now the bigger battery, which is the one ideally that you're going to want, like 60 odd kilowatt hour battery, BYD has that, but the 60 odd kilowatt hour battery in this car is going to cost you over 40,000 euro. The larger battery in the Dolphin is going to cost you barely over 30,000 euro. That's 10 grand in the difference. And that's what I mean. If Nissan want to continue to sell this car, they're going to have to slash the price even further. I don't know if they're going to have an appetite to do that, because they'll be like, well, you already dropped 5 grand off the price of the car. What are you talking about? It's just not enough. And if the price is right, anything will sell. And that's where I think the Leaf needs to be. So I would definitely try and buy it without a trade-in, I would negotiate the hell out of your dealer, try and get the best price for it, and I would beat them with the head over the stick of the BYD Dolphin and say, I can have this for 25 grand. So what are you going to do for me? And they'll probably tell you, yeah, but there's a waiting list for the Dolphin, and they wouldn't be lying. I'm sure you can get a Nissan Leaf an awful lot quicker. And that's what I mean. It's not just as simple as, oh, the Dolphin's cheaper, oh, the MG4 will do more range. Yeah, there's all those things to consider, and that's why YouTube channels like this exist. I'm not telling you to go out and particularly buy one car over the other. I'm telling you the pros and cons, and now you have a bit more knowledge, hopefully, from watching this video, that will make you be able to shortlist your list down, narrow it down to 3 or 4 cars, be aware of what else is in the market, and then make your own ultimate decision, because it's you who has to live with the car. But I still think this is potentially a little bit of life in the old Leaf just yet. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know, have you had one of these? Have you had a few of these? And would you go again? Or do you think, yeah, just the competition is too good now, and for that reason, I'm out? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to support us, we are fully independent. If you've come this far in the video, chances are you might consider spending €2 a month on my Patreon page, or buying us a coffee for €5, or a super chat on YouTube. They're all there in the links down below. See you in the next one.